Here we are again, Glyn.
Yes, indeed, David.
We're here again.
Yeah.
We were here
Where
before.
is that?
We're here again.
We're back,
right now.
yeah.
Back.
Yeah.
Badder than ever. This is another episode of the More Than Mostly Comedy podcast.
It is, yes. It's very exciting to be here again. Yeah.
Certainly is. And this one, we were interviewing the lovely Anna Morris, who is genuinely very nice and really lovely chat again. I mean, they've all been nice, haven't they, really? It's been a really positive thing.
It has indeed. And this one was it was quite a liberating chat, I thought. I know maybe that's...
Did you have a sexual experience?
Yeah, it does. Maybe I think liberating is the right word. Maybe it's a bit over the top. It was very inspiring chat, I found personally. But just to find out her journey and her experience of being in this industry and doing what she's done. And it was really just, it was lovely. It was just lovely. And we went off on lots of random kind of journeys, talking about things like recording the chart show off the radio. I can't now think of any others apart from.
Well, don't prove it, because this is the bit before it. You shouldn't say.
Of course,
them.
yeah.
Let it be, as the song says.
That's true.
So,
no more. I'll say no more.
No. So here we go with the Anna Morris interview. So we are here, but not really here because it's a Zoom thing, with Anna Morris. Hello, Anna. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I have to admit, I've got imposter syndrome. I'm having that thing. I don't know if you guys are like, I'm just like, what? But why does anyone want to listen to anything I've got to say?
We have that all the time.
I'm really boring. Sorry, that's not a good start. But I suddenly got a bit nervous, and I was like, oh no, I don't know if I've got anything exciting to say. But I'll try.
No, it's just I think we were born with imposter syndrome. So But the thing is, we are actually imposters.
I still get it all the time. Like, not all the time, but there's occasions when I'll be doing a meeting or a read through or something, and I'll go, "Oh, this is really good," and then the voice in my head goes, "Why are you here? This is you? Someone's going to find you out. Someone's going to find out you didn't go to drama school." Yeah. I've had that. I've had some acting jobs. I had this they're going to know you didn't go to RADA. So
got like a big scam
it's
going.
Pretty obvious.
But I think that's a healthy way to be. Well, within reason, because I think if you've got an air of that, you're not going to be an arsehole, and you're going to remain sort of self-aware and self-deprecating. Although it can also really put you down, can't it? Because you do genuinely start to feel like you shouldn't be there. Yeah. But anyway, you are here, and that's good.
I'm here.
How have you been finding this scenario that we've been in recently, the whole lockdown thing?
Well, really up and down, like most people, but like a roller coaster, really. I mean, I think I'm much better now. I think the beginning, I think probably for everyone, was very anxiety ridden, and but not just because of work. It was like a layered thing of just the uncertainty of it, and the lockdown happened. Just felt like it happened so quickly.
Yes.
And I went back to my parents. So I live in my own flat, and my boyfriend had gone up to Scotland to see his parents 2 weeks before lockdown, and got stuck up there. And I was like, and my dad, bless him, was like, I'm going to come and get you, because I'm really worried you're going to be. I like my own company, don't get me wrong, but I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. So I suddenly found myself about to turn 40. So I turned 40 in lockdown, and I back at my parents in a single bed in my childhood room.
Wow.
But felt quite safe kind of with them. Also, then I did that classic thing of the first month reading the news every morning and every night, and my anxiety was awful. I'm quite an anxious person anyway, but it was pretty bad. And then I lost a lot of work, as you guys would have done as well. And it just there was a point where there was a tipping point, I think, where I went, this is awful. And then I kind of did that acceptance thing that I think we all did, where you start adapting and going, okay, this is how it is. There's nothing I can do about it. I just have to try and keep me and my family safe. And then I started making videos and just messing about and trying other stuff. And that's really helped, I think. Now feeling much better, feeling a bit more positive. Still have the wobbles of if I think too far ahead, I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm just trying to be a bit more stop just catastrophizing. Because with me, I think, and with a lot of artists, I've got a very good imagination, which is great for writing and is very good for characters and the stuff I come up with. But the problem is, if I think too much about something and imagine a scenario, it's like a movie in my head.
Right.
I don't know if anyone else gets this, but it's like I can play out an entire scene. And it'll catastrophize to the most ridiculous thing that could ever happen. And I'm like, well, that's happened. That's going to happen. And I'll feel it. So I have to be very good at going, just calm down.
I'd say that's a bit like, for me, when I'm late for something, so if I'm on a train and I'm late, I'm doing that thing, I'm late, they all know, but I'm sort of thinking about it, I'm not actually late yet, you know what I mean? Even though I probably will still be late, but I waste so much energy already being late and already, like you say, going through the whole thing. So particularly in a circumstance like this, you do just sort of have to let it be what it is, you know, really.
Yes.
But
Did you I mean, I have to say that what you have done during lockdown, I mean, the videos that you've put out, the ones that were on Twitter, the recent ones, I mean, did you find those a kind of good release of everything you were feeling? They're fantastic. You've got the one you did at the beginning was about the smug lockdown, which I think is just genius.
That honestly that came from me just genuinely being cross with myself, feeling guilty. I think a lot of us probably had guilt of like going, well, I'm not working. My concentration levels were awful. I kept sitting down to write stuff and I'd just be staring at a page going, I don't have anything. And then so the first video I did, the smug lockdown, was just me getting annoyed with the amount of stuff I was seeing on social media. It was a bit like this, guys, just, you know, let's make the most of this. Let's bake. Let's, you know, I'm going to learn Arabic, you know? Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of, and I kept seeing posts even from, you know, friends and stuff going, do you know what? This is fantastic. I've just painted my entire house. I've learned Spanish. I've written a novel. And a couple of people, well-meaning, said to me when I was saying, look, I'm feeling anxious. I don't know what the future holds for artists and stuff. And they go, look, this is the time for you to write that novel or that screenplay. And then, of course, you go to write and go, oh my God, you're right. I'm going to write this like amazing sitcom. And then you go to do it and you're like, I literally don't have anything. And I kept just watching Contagion and crying, genuinely, like obsessed with Contagion. We can talk about that later. I think a lot of people were. So basically, to cut a long story short, the first video I did, I know it sounds weird, I just sort of almost dreamt it. I'm a bit weird. I kind of half dream ideas. My best ideas are at like 5:30 in the morning if I wake up early and I'm half awake, which sounds a bit weird, but like an idea will go into my head and I could see this video of me, just the first 30 seconds of just me doing a montage of loads of smug things like baking and just, I can't really remember what I did now, with loads of language books and painting a rainbow and all that stuff. And the second half was just me, the reality of me throwing biscuits at Joe Wick's videos and like watching Contagion crying and pouring wine into a cereal bowl. I didn't actually do that. For the purpose of the video, I did eat the cereal full of wine. A little bit. It was horrible. Don't do it. And then I did it all at home. And what was nice is that I felt creative and I felt like I was doing something, and I wasn't thinking of, am I going to get paid for this? Am I going to get a producer to see this? There was no, the ego kind of went, and it was like, I'm just doing this because I need to do something, and this is what I'm feeling. And then I knew a little bit about editing, not very well, but I kind of sliced it together on iMovie, and that was fun because I was learning stuff. And then when I put it out, I showed my parents. It was really sweet because they were like helping me do it, and they thought it was really funny. And then I picked some music, and then I popped it on Twitter in the morning, and then it just went mental. I mean, I put it out there, and I think the title of it, I put, "Are you sick of smug lockdown posts? If so, watch this." So I think it was a bit of an invitation to. And what was lovely is like loads of people were like, "That's exactly how I feel." Like the reality is, I'm not doing all these amazing things. I'm just finding it really hard, and that was the idea. And then me and my mum went for a walk, and we came back, and it was like 24,000 or something by midday. Amazing. And it was lovely because, again, as I said, I wasn't doing it for any ego reason or to get more followers it was just sort of something to do. And then I've done loads of them. You know, some have worked well, some haven't, but all the ones I've done have just been observational stuff that either friends have told me or I've noticed, and just is the way I'm feeling or other people are. And it's just a bit of fun really, but it feels like it's just been a nice little outlet for me to do it. And it has made me feel like I'm being proactive, but not in the way that I used to be, where I was just constantly worrying about what I was going to get from something. But with this, you're just doing it because you want to be an artist and creative. So
it struck. I mean, for me personally, when I saw the smug lockdown one, it hit at just the right point in that lockdown where I was at the point where I was feeling the pressure massively. And you see something like that, and actually it kind of makes you go, no, I don't have to be like that, do I? That is, I am just sitting. And I've got two kids, and my the pressure for us, it was the homeschooling pressure, and we had a ridiculous thing at my son's school where they had a Twitter account, and they put things on. People put things on to sort of talk about stuff that their kids are doing, and it becomes a pressure to put things on, and it's quite nerve-wracking because you're like, oh god, my son hasn't done that today, or I haven't done that, but it was that pressure. There was lots of pressures like that, and then when I see a video like that, you're like, yeah, that's good. It's not just.
I think for parents, I mean, I'm not a parent, but I know that my friends who are parents were really finding that whole schooling thing tough, because it's not what they do every day. And from the other side of it, my sister is a teacher, and so is my brother-in-law. And my sister was still having to teach online, but she's got 2 children as well. So she was trying to, and he's a teacher as well. So they're trying to take it in turns. But, you know, her 3-year-old's in the background trying to do a piano. He's got this little piano that he's obsessed with. Like, keeps trying to play the piano, just playing the demo, obviously. And it's really hard for everyone. I don't think there's anyone I know that hasn't been affected by this.
No.
Really?
Well, that's it, because there aren't very many things in life where everything about life changes for just about everyone. You know, it's such an unusual, unprecedented situation. And also, I think that sort of the smug thing, I mean, that just extends to normal life, because I think you find with social media and Facebook, you could spend your whole life going, in fact, I do a lot of this. My life isn't any of these, but everyone's releasing like the press release of their own life, the best possible version of it. And it's just really tiring, isn't it? And like you say, I mean, funnily enough, seeing you do your videos made me think I should be doing something really creative.
I know what you mean. It's a weird two-pronged thing, isn't it? Because you kind of go, I relate to that, but damn, I wish I'd thought of that one and done that.
The irony of it was that I did it because I was feeling like I was procrastinating and not making anything, and then I did it as that, and then I was like, oh no, now I'm smug because I've made something that's done really well. So I kind of did that, but I'm working on a new one, so I'm trying to do new ones where I'm doing some characters and stuff, because that's what my original background is, character comedy. So I did one the other day about going back to the pub, which was lots of different characters that you might see at the pub I'd sort of observed in my life. And I'm trying to think of one, my new one that I'm trying to come up with is when the gym's open. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm going, what's coming up? Is there something playful I can do with that? So I'm thinking about when the gym's open, and I'm thinking about the kind of, when I've gone to the gym, and the kind of people you see at the gym. And I'm kind of working on that at the moment. Like, I've been to several gyms, I've moved around quite a lot, and there's always certain characters in there that do my head in. Like, there's always a guy going, like that place, and it's really intimidating, but there's always like, I've tried to do some of the classes, but there's often like a really shouty boot camp teacher with a headset, and even if they're right, they're shouting. And I had this, because this guy was like just going through all the horrible misogynist names for female body parts, like, come on ladies, get your bingo, let's get those bingo wings, those muffin chops. Honestly, like, so I'm trying, that's my next thing at the moment. I'm trying to think of like those little characters. That's my new obsession. It's just the little characters.
How do you tend to write stuff normally? I mean, do you? I know you've sort of been involved in like collaborative things, but do you tend to write on your own? And how do you? Is it different to like how you're approaching these videos now, or is it sort of?
Well, originally I did live character stuff like shows and gigs, and it's a process that's changed over the year. Like when I first started doing that, I was obsessed with scripting everything, and I was obsessed. Like I was like, everything has to be scripted, and if I do a gig, it has to be exact, stick to the words and stick. And it just meant that I was going to do gigs as characters and do it just not giving myself the freedom to play with it, and not trusting myself to be funny off script. And if I forgot the lines, I'd get annoyed, and I was like, no one knows that I've forgotten the lines, because it's just me. And then I tried several different ways of doing things, and I accidentally stumbled upon, for me, the best way of doing things, where I went to the Brighton Fringe to do a work in progress, hadn't had time to really write anything, had a massive glass of wine, and then went to do a work in progress show. Didn't think anyone would come, and 50 people came. That was my wedding show I did an interactive wedding show, and it came from me going, I have come up with this idea for doing a show where I'm playing my bride character, my Bridezilla character. I haven't had time to write this, so what I'm going to do is write an order of service in bullet points of like what would happen at a wedding, and I'm just going to have to play with ideas. And I ended up doing this really fun, silly show where I just said to the audience at the beginning, look, I don't really have anything, so we're just going to make a show. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. It was a free show in Brighton. I was like, and then I had the most fun. I mean, it wasn't all funny. Some of it was a disaster, but that was why it was entertaining, because some of it was horrific, and I was going, this is awful, and everyone would laugh. And then I'd go, right, does anyone want to be a bridesmaid? Yeah. And then I said, does anyone have any music? We'll pick out some music for me to walk up the aisle to on Spotify. And someone picked like the Imperial March or something like that.
Yeah.
And my director came to see it 3 nights in, because I did a 4-night run of this work in progress show. And by then I was getting in the swing of things. I was coming up with these little ideas. And he was like, oh my God, this is really unusual. And afterwards I went, look, I'm so sorry. This is a mess. I don't know what it is. I will script it. He was like, no, this is the show. The show is just a bit loose, but we'll put a structure around it. But I think it's just the audience make a show with you. So from then on, my stuff became very interactive and very much based on me having some ideas and then playing with an audience. And I think for me, comedy's always been the interaction with the audience. It's always been like, you guys are here, I don't want to ignore you. And that's risky, because that can be scary if people are drunk or they're, shouting. I'm sure you've done Edinburgh shows and people have been like that. But mostly sometimes people want to join in and play. And like, if they don't, and I'm very good at reading body language. So I started to realize who looked like they wanted to join in and who didn't. And I rarely got it wrong. And it became a bit of a thing that I did. So, and then other stuff I've done, some sitcom stuff is either scripted, or Lee and Dean I did was mostly improvised. And because of my background at improvising the shows, that really helped. So the videos I'm doing, I just write bullet points of what they are. And then because it's me filming it, I just film it again and again and again. So what you see is a finished minute, but I would have spent ages like recording myself, and most of it's awful. I think I accept that a lot of stuff I do is not going to be great, but out of that stuff I do, there's going to be little nuggets of it that are good, I think. But what's your process? How do you do your stuff?
Well, it's funny, like, I mean, sort of specifically the thing I was thinking of when you were saying about like when you write stuff and you used to feel hard on yourself when you didn't do the stuff you'd written. I know when I started doing stand-up on my own, because like Glyn and I worked together first, something that Glyn would say to me a lot, because I would find that the stuff I wrote didn't necessarily work, but then I'd say something in response to that, like you were saying about the audience, and that would be funny. And I'd be like pissed off with myself, going, well, I've got a laugh for that. Why am I not getting a laugh? And Glyn said, well, it's all the same thing. You know, just so if you understand that, if you get a laugh, that's all that really matters. That sort of frees you up.
I think the thing is, we came off the back of us too. We both come from drama school backgrounds where we both learnt scripts. I mean, we were people who did improv. So we both kind of came out of writing stuff together, where we would sit and write a script. So there would be lines and everything would be like that. So I've always been very much like, I need a script, and I need lines, and I need to know what my character is and those things. But like I said to you, David, when you were doing your stuff on your own, the funniest bits were the sort of natural off the cuff in between. Not saying that everything else was rubbish, but just it had that some of that stuff got really good reaction where you just off the cuff thought of something. Which is great.
Freeing up your own mind, isn't it, to allow yourself to sort of do that.
Which is nerve-wracking. I mean, I was going to say to you, Anna, when you did it the first time, when you first did that Bridezilla show, was that nerve-wracking, or were you kind of using the character was a kind of really good thing to hide behind?
I'm always nervous pretty much 90% of the time. I mean, I'm better at managing the nerves. But yes, I play a lot of high status characters, and that really helps. Of course, if I'm hiding behind the character, it almost gives you license to be more confident. And when I'm me, as I said, I had imposter syndrome even doing this. Like, I'm a bit nervous and I'm a bit stumbly and I stutter. But when I'm Georgina, immediately I'm like that, and I'm just pipe down. If an audience member's like being a bit naughty, I'm just pipe down and face the wall, okay? So I feel safe, and the audience almost like, because they feel like I'm in charge, like they're like naughty school children. So the show became chaotic because people would start on purpose being silly because they felt like I was a school teacher. So definitely I get nervous, but I think part of the reason that I started interacting was a little thing that when I started gigging, so when you're gigging and you have the lights on and you can't see the audience, which is most comedy clubs, they put the lights on you and you can't see at all. So I realised that I was really freaking out. So I'm completely deaf in my left ear. I only have one ear that works, and it's a very strange thing because I have no directional sound. So when I started gigging, and I was about 29, 30 when I started gigging, so I came to it sort of later than a lot of people do. And I found that when I was doing these gigs, if I heard a noise or someone in the audience said something, not heckles, but like tried to join in, I would panic because I'd go like, I don't know where that's come from. And so I went to a gig, said, could you put the house lights on a bit? And obviously that's a bit scary because you can see people. But as soon as I did that, I was like, oh, now I feel like I'm more in control. I can see people. If someone makes a noise, I can see where it's coming from. And then my shows basically came from me then just by habit and doing my own shows, controlling the lighting, going, right, house lights on, house lights higher. I started chatting to people because I felt like they were in front of me and I wanted to. Yeah. And for me, it's a control thing, I think. I think for me, it's like a way of me taking control of my hearing problem and going, I can see you. And sometimes in shows, someone shouts something out and I go, I don't know where that's come from. And I go, I'm half deaf, and go, people think it's a joke. It's not. But that's been a big part of my journey. And I also partly think that I'm good at characters, because when I was a kid, I had to really listen. And when you really listen, you observe people's body language, lip reading. Like, you probably don't realize how much you're taking in voices, mannerisms, stuff like that. So I, from a very young age, was able to impersonate people or pick out things they were doing because I was observing. And I think a lot of people who are hard of hearing probably communicate a lot on other stuff that's not noise. Like, I found also with the lockdown, with masks on, it's really interesting because I didn't think I could lip read. I probably can a little bit, but what I've realised for me, and I don't know if other people have found this, even if you're not hard of hearing, is when I haven't really, been out a lot on the trains or anything like that, but I went to the station the other day because I went to go and see a friend. It's the first time I'd gone to the station, and my ticket thing didn't work. It didn't load on the smart. Went up to the guy at the thing and he had a mask on, and as soon as that happened, I was like, what? And it's happened in a supermarket. Someone asked me if I had a Nectar card or something, and I literally was, I guess that's what he'd asked me, but I'm really finding that quite difficult because I think I've realised how much I need to see people's mouths. I don't know if anyone else said that. I
know what you mean. I had to go and do a thing at the hospital actually on Friday, and everyone was wearing a mask, and I wasn't there because I was ill. I was there because I was doing some charity thing, but it was very bizarre because suddenly I was looking at everyone's eyes, and I could hear people, but I was literally reading people's eyes. Like, are you smiling at me now? Is that a smile? Is that
talking to a load of Princess Diana's? Just all these eyes, just
It was very, very bizarre. Like, it is. I hadn't, and that was the first time I'd worn a mask as well. So I also felt really restricted myself, and I felt like I was having to animate every other part of my body to make it clear what I was thinking. Because my mouth wasn't showing it.
Yeah, it does make a massive difference, I think. Yeah. I really do think. I think there's been a lot of stuff on campaigning and stuff online. I think now people who are deaf who travel with signers don't have to. I think they don't have to wear a mask, or they can travel with someone who can interpret for them. But I know there's masks you can get clear ones as well. I think some people who've gone to hospital the staff have got clear ones if they can't hear.
That's a good idea.
But so I've gone off on a bit of a tangent there, but I think that my hearing loss sort of maybe helped me be a comedian. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like it's probably helped with me observing people and stuff.
I remember reading your article in The Guardian. I feel like it was an article you did for The Guardian last year, wasn't it? I think it was around the time that you came and did Mostly Comedy, the show that we run. And I remember kind of thinking about it, and then I think you came just afterwards. But it's really interesting. And
also I think it shows because I think your stuff's really, really subtle, like your videos. And what I really like about it is they're often really, really short, but you use every moment, but it's the things that aren't being said and it's the little reactions. So it definitely shows that you're sort of observant.
I think also it's interesting doing videos instead of live stuff because you sort of put it out there and you don't know what the reaction's going to be. And at the moment, especially on Twitter and stuff, there's a lot of trolling and there's a lot of stuff. And I have had some nasty-ish comments on some of them, people taking it really seriously or taking it literally. And I get upset because I'm like, I didn't mean to offend anyone. I was just like, I did a back to work one, which is one where I speak very quickly. And I imagine what it would be like to go back to work. And that was based on all my friends who work in full-time office jobs going, I really don't want to go back. I don't want to have to commute. I don't want to have to have a desk facing the wall and there's people in my office who microwave fish. And I genuinely wrote it all down, did a video. That went really well. But I did get some comments going, well, and at the end of it, I've got a glass of wine and I'm doing it in a dressing gown in front of a laptop. And it's obviously like, that's not my job, but it was a silly kind of tongue in cheek. Oh, look at me working from home in a dressing gown with a glass of wine. And I did get some quite nasty, like people taking it seriously going, well, you're just sat there with your glass of wine, having a lovely time. I've had to work. And one person said, you should be ashamed of yourself.
What?
Seriously.
Honestly. Yeah. And even those are just a few comments, but I do get nervous when I put stuff on Twitter. I don't know if you guys do, but
I kind of avoid Twitter because I'm so scared of writing anything.
Yeah.
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 The videos safe in some ways, but I do get scared that I'm going to do something that's going to be really, I didn't even realise was offensive.
But I think it's all about trusting your judgment, but also I think, really, if the intention is sound, some people are going to be looking to be pissed off, or they don't even really understand it's comedy, or so you're always going to have those sort of people. But if the intention isn't like to be offensive, then I don't think you're going to be. But yeah, it's the thing about not overthinking it, isn't it? Really, because if you do that, you never do anything. Really,
I think with videos as well, like it's interesting. But I started my career doing gigs, like just the little gigs in rooms above pubs with it, and I was in a double act, and we did sketches. We just did little sketches. I had a full-time office job, and it was like a bit of. I did drama at university. I did theatre studies at university. It was quite an academic course actually, and I left university, didn't feel confident enough to go to drama school, didn't have the money, so I got various jobs in my 20s, and then suddenly went, oh, do you know what? I really miss doing my little comedy stuff that I used to do, because I used to do it at uni. So I started doing the little gigs in rooms above pubs, and then they started going quite well. And then I grew more confident and started doing characters on my own, and then went solo. But again, it was still like me doing it after work, on weekends. When I did my first Edinburgh show, a solo show, I took 3 weeks off work. I saved up all my holiday and took it all in one go, which was crazy because I got really tired and ill. Talking about the videos, the way I got an agent, so I think I tried to invite agents to gigs, and sometimes you'd get a reply and they'd go, yeah, we'll come to a gig, and obviously they just don't. I don't know if they want to go after work and sit in a pub and wait for you to come on. And I thought, well, this is just not working. And then I thought, well, I'll invite them to my Edinburgh show, but I did the free Fringe. I couldn't afford to do a big show, and no one was really interested. So I was like, fine. And then a month before Edinburgh, I made a little series of videos, which is the Bridezilla character I've talked about, Georgina's wedding vlogs. And that was done at a very a friend of mine made them for me. We sort of improvised them and had loads of fun doing them. And he did it in my lounge. And I put the first one out the morning. I went to work in the morning, put it out before I got to work, and said, is this Britain's worst bride, was my little tag. And I think I put it on YouTube, and I shared it on Facebook and stuff. And basically that day was insane. So I went into a meeting at 10 o'clock and came out of the meeting and had loads of missed calls and texts going, this video you've got is going viral. And I was like, what? They're like, people think it's real. So some people thought it was a joke, and some people like, who the hell is this woman? Who do you think she is? Because she's really patronising and awful.
That's perfect.
Long story short, that all went crazy, and it was amazing. And then obviously I had one coming out a week, and then a week before Edinburgh, I can't remember when it was, my sister, who is I love to bits, who's a legend and amazing. She messaged me in the first week of Edinburgh saying, I've done something and I think you're going to be really cross with me. And I was like, oh my God, what has she done? She said, she was on holiday, and she said, I had a couple of glasses of wine and I sent your video to an agent. And I was like, sorry, what? And she sent it to a really, really good agent. She basically looked up Miranda Hart's agent, because she decided that just thought of Miranda Hart. Looked at Miranda Hart's agent, who was also David Walliams and Matt Lucas's agent, and Graham Norton's agent. She basically, my sister just found an email address, like saying info at whatever. She put the YouTube link in the subject matter, and then she put, hi, my name's Kate, this is my sister Anna. I've still got the email somewhere. I think she's really funny. She did this video, it did really well. She's doing a show in Edinburgh. You should come and see it. Kate, that was it. And then so she told me, and I went, oh, I said, why have you done that? I was like, that's really embarrassing. They're going to think, they're not going to come. So I got really upset. I was like, oh, that's really embarrassing. And then she went, okay, well, they want to come to your show. They really like the video. And I was like, what? So she forwarded me an email from an assistant going, this has gone around the office. We love it. It's great. Is she represented? And then the rest is history. It was crazy. Then they came to see my show. Then two other agents came to see my show, because they found out that agent had come. Right. And it's a really weird thing with Edinburgh. They were like, well, we need to be the first to sign her. And then suddenly I left Edinburgh, I suddenly had an agent. And I was like, what? And I was still working full time, because you don't just suddenly stop your job and go, no, I'm going to work. I couldn't. I started to work. And a week later, I had my first audition, and it was hilarious, because I was like, again, imposter syndrome. This is probably why I've had it from the beginning. They went, right, we've got an audition for you. And they sent me this email breakdown. And obviously now I'm used to it. But back then I was like, what? I was terrified. They went, it's for Alan Partridge, the movie. It was just a small part. It was just playing a receptionist. And they said, this is the time and the date, blah, blah. And obviously I was working. So I was like, what? I have to take a morning off. I was like, this is just... And I went to the audition. I felt sick. I went in and I literally said, I went in and went, hi, sorry, where do I look? Do I look into the camera? Do I look at you? And they were a bit like... And I did it. And they said that was a good read. It was fine. Didn't get the part. I think the part in the end, whoever got the part, it got cut out of the thing. So luckily I didn't get it. But... I had imposter syndrome because I was like, but this shouldn't have happened. So yeah, so basically I owe it to my sister and my little videos that was the only way I got someone to come and see me. It's a bit of a long-winded story, sorry, but
that's amazing.
So that's lovely. That's just gives you faith. That does. That's
it really hugely gives us faith, I think. But it is that's fascinating. But if that hadn't have happened, then what was your plan after Edinburgh? Were you just going to keep kind of doing the live circuit, trying to kind of build on that?
I was happy just doing. I was would still have done my gigs and my shows. My show went well in Edinburgh. It got nicely reviewed. The audience is built. Builds on word of mouth and. I don't know. I think I probably would have just carried on. I don't know. I mean, I'd worked in television production through a lot of my 20s, so maybe I would have gone back to that. But the full-time job I had was in advertising, like doing advertising compliance, which sounds basically is a job where you check adverts before they go on air and you check if they're compliant. And it's actually a really interesting job. And I did it because I'd worked in TV for so long, and it got the higher up I was going on the ladder of TV, I was finding it really tough, like a really tough job. The hours were crazy. I love how I've switched from that to this comedy, and I'm like, why is this any easier? It's not. My heart wasn't in it, and I had a couple of jobs that were really long hours and really stressful. Like I worked on the Paul O'Grady show and stuff like that. Like some really cool jobs. I met some really interesting people, and I some ways I had an amazing time, but the pay wasn't great. I had months when I was unemployed. I mean, I was going to say, sounds familiar. But my heart wasn't in it. And this job, the office job I got, I did for 4 years. I made some. I did it for 2 more years after I got an agent until I stopped because my filming. I was getting enough work to leave, and I couldn't keep taking holiday. I was getting tired, and it wasn't fair on the job either. And I still do other jobs. Now I still do some office work, advertising stuff, because that's the nature, as you guys know. People just sometimes think that you're constantly working, or you've been paid so much you don't have to, but it's not. The reality is not like that. I do sometimes do a lovely advertising freelance job. I meet lovely people and I do it, and then I do a bit of filming, and I do, you guys know, it's the reality is that you do about 3 or 4 things, and I still do that. I'm really glad I have that, but I love that I can still do my little bits and pieces when I can. And I think it's really nice. It's a bit like what you were saying about the videos you've done recently. Sometimes the thing you don't intend to do, or like your sister stepping in, is the thing that made it happen. So but that's so I don't know if you guys find, but I find if I overthink things and over script and over analyze, it never does as well. And when I do a random, always for me, if I do a random idea or just a throwaway thing, it seems to become something. So, for example, I'm doing a Radio 4 stand-up special, which I'm going to record next year. Now, that came about because I emailed Shoned, who's the head of Radio 4 Comedy. He's a lovely lady. And I said, have you got a chance for a coffee? I want to pitch you a few characters. And then with Radio 4, you pitch through a production company and it sort of goes that way. But she was lovely. She said, yeah, pop in for a coffee. So I popped in for coffee, and I went in with a notebook going, like, these are my characters. I'm going to say to her, look, if I apply for next time, what about this idea, these sketches and these characters? And I'd already had a rejection for a character thing I'd done. And basically with that one, I had a coffee, got a bit hyper, had a rant about some stuff I was going through that was quite personal, but like a bit of a rant about my life. And she was laughing those because I was sort of making it funny without realising. I went, sorry, anyway, characters. And she went, no, hang on. What you're talking about is really funny. She said, I know it's not funny because it's a hard subject, but there's something in that. And she went, that's your show. I want that as a pitch show. She put me in touch with the producer, and suddenly I was like coming up with a show that I was like, God, really? What? And then so now I've got this, I now have a show, which is terrifying because it's like a stand-up type show, and that's not my thing, but it's quite personal what I'm talking about. But that just seems to have come sort of from a rant.
Yeah.
Is that a character thing then, or is that you?
No, it's just me.
So that's you being...
It was me saying to her, wow, these are loads of things that are happening and I'm struggling.
Yeah. So when you present it, you're presenting it as yourself then, doing...
Yeah.
Wow. So that is very different.
Honest and being quite like, and talking about stuff that's tricky. So basically it's called Kid Life Crisis, and it's about me turning 40 and not being sure about having kids and not being sure if I can and all that kind of thing. And the kid life crisis bit came from me having this little rant and saying to her, do you know what, I think I'm having a bit of a kid life crisis. I don't know what to do. And she was like, that's your title.
Yeah.
And that came from, again, just going, so I think sometimes, less is more.
Yeah.
Do you find that material?
Yeah, well, it's connecting with that bit of your brain. I mean, like, I trust the going for the difficult stuff, because I wrote a show about depression, and I'd never talked about it really publicly at all. And it ended up, the first preview that I properly did it was at our own club, because I cancelled Brighton shows or whatever. And I did a thing at the beginning about, because I'd go to the mental health unit at the Lister Hospital, and you'd be waiting to go in, and the radio would be on, and it'd be like songs like All By Myself and things like that. And just like, and so I just did a thing, and it's just like me reading a magazine, hearing this song and going, oh Christ. But it I don't know, it worked for me more than anything I'd ever really done before, and it was that thing of just try. So I completely agree with you sometimes, and it's sometimes slightly left of centre, but if it's real, I think if it's real, and if you feel passionate about it in some way, so like you're saying, if it's like you were having a rant, it sort of makes sense that follows.
I think it's certainly for us as a double act, when we started our comedy club, we started a comedy club because we came back from an Edinburgh festival experience where we'd put everything into it, everything, and really written a script and written a comedy play that was a mixed experience, if I'm honest. But we came back from that and went, well, what do we do now? And a friend of ours said, why don't you start a comedy club in Hitchin, because you could do with something different. And we had about one sketch, and we did that one sketch on the first night, and then went, well, what the hell do we do now? And then it was just, it came out of like little ideas where we were just kind of, remember that thing that happened the other day? Oh, that was funny. Remember we had that? And we ended up doing this thing with the projector where we project stuff onto a projector and talk about those things. And that became... And
that was purely because there was a projector in the room.
Because in the room. Well... We go, why don't we show that stuff on the screen? Because then they'll see it better. And then it was weird. And then some of the best stuff that we wrote was right in those early days where it was just a quick idea and went, oh, what about that? Or we could talk about that a bit more. And what about if we turn that into a song, or we turn that into a ridiculous routine? But that was the best stuff, where I think...
That we still do now, and it's
we do.
The stuff we didn't overthink, the stuff you just went, okay, let's just do this 10 minutes, let's work that bit out. And like you, if you start analysing it, you go, well, actually, to do stand, we had to use a projector, because how do you refer about the same thing?
And I think we've suffered a little bit from that in sort of since then, trying to do gigs and stuff as a double act. For one, you turn up and they only give you one microphone, and you say, no, there's two of us, so we need two microphones. But it's a very weird thing doing stand up as a double act, because a lot of double acts just do sketches. That's the thing. And whereas we weren't being other characters, we were just being ourselves, talking.
Whereas that's what we would normally do, is the weird thing, because we did.
So it's a good thing, but it was a tough thing to do, I think. But
I think I think the reason I was doing characters is because I love Victoria Wood. Like, she's my... I do sort of partly think she's the reason I do what I do, because when I was a kid, when I was like 7 or 8, my mum and dad have a great sense of humour, and they're Northerners. They've got a really great Northern sense of humour. They're Scousers, and they just introduced me to Victoria Wood when I was a kid, and I loved it. We had it like on VHS. The days of VHS, guys, remember that?
Yes.
I just had a flashback of like having, like my mum would have put a label on a VHS, but don't tape over.
I found one of those the other day, actually, one of my videotapes that I put, don't
just
tape
have to take the tag off, just take the little plastic tag off on the VHS.
And it'd be like 5 layers of labels going Brookside, like that. Top of the pops. For me, it was like top of the pops. Don't tape over. Like, you get so angry if someone taped over it. I remember keeping aside these Victoria Wood as seen on TV recorded shows with Acorn Antiques and all her characters, and her Julie Walters, and Victoria Wood was so generous. She gave her best lines, I think, to Julie Walters, often best characters to her. And I watched her and went, that's what I want to do. I want to do these. I used to quote it. I used to just be 8 years old and quoting it, which is a bit odd. And French and Saunders and stuff. And I think seeing her do it, I was like, that's what I don't know. I've gone off on one. I don't know what my original point was. You're preaching to the converted, because us as kids, we were doing this. I used to record Alan Partridge, but with a tape recorder, just record it, and the thing when they did an ABBA medley, and I learnt that inside out, and it's just
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? And in a world where it wasn't so easy to access these things, so that's why you have the Do Not Tape Over. It's like, well, it's only on at that time, so you've got to.
And like, I think what I was going to say, and I need to talk about recording the Pepsi chart show in a minute because I've just
oh my God, Dr. Fox,
Carrot. I was just going to say, characters came from me, probably from that influence, but also a protection of myself, probably of me going, if I do characters, I don't have to be me. Probably what you were saying, David, about the depression stuff. I suffer from depression on and off. Like I manage it. It's something that I just live with. But I think for me, like doing characters meant I didn't have to. I was going through quite a tough time, I think, when I started doing it, and probably the characters for me were like a way of me being high status and not feeling like that. And actually, I feel like now I've got more confident, and the older I've got, I'm a bit more like I'm ready to do stand up because I feel like I'm happy to be me, which sounds a bit cheesy, but maybe it's a bit more acceptance. Pepsi chart show, I was going to say. Me and my sister were laughing about this the other day, saying we used to be obsessed. We'd listen to the Pepsi chart show with Dr. Fox, and we'd be ready to press record. On the tape thing, and you get like a bit of an intro, and then you get the song, and then again you'd have note don't tape over on it, and then you'd like do I record over this song, like who's number one now, like someone be number 1 for 20 weeks, and I used to love it.
It was very, I can remember playing for some reason I remember for a long time 74 75 by the Connells was in the charts for a while and I really liked it. I don't know why, because it's a really dull song, but it was I remember I kept kind of going, do I record over this version because there's a bit more talking on this one, or do I wait till the next, because they might do less talking next time, so maybe it's good I have a couple of versions of it, because they did like. I
remember I used to get, me and Kate, my sister, used to get like Smash Hits magazine and Top of the Pops. I don't know if it was Top of the Pops magazine, but it was Smash
Fast Forward.
Fast Forward was the one. I Fast Forward delivered.
Lyrics out. We'd be obsessed with lyrics. We used to cut the lyrics out, so we'd have the lyrics there and sing along to it.
Whereas I would do the stopping the record. You used to do like recording it and then pausing it and writing them down, and then play, and that's what I used to do.
I did that. I did that, and it's just like, and now I'm going to sound really old, but like now I've got my Spotify on and I'm flicking through and I'm like, oh, remember when you had to forward the tape? Do you remember you had to forward the tape and flip it over and then play the other side?
And you think, how did you ever find a song on a tape? Like, I can't remember like how I used to must spend ages fast forwarding through stuff, and you'd know the points in the tape where you'd go, no, we're nearly there. No, I'm nearly there. I'm nearly at that point. It's weird, isn't it? Like,
we used to go on family holidays to like France and stuff, and my dad used to drive. We used to get the ferry and then he'd drive through France, and we always had, like, me and Kate like really remember these, like, you know, there's like Now 8 or Now That's What I Call Music or Northwood Hits tape.
Yeah, we had those.
Hits tape 8. For some reason we only had like 2 tapes in the car, and we'd play them again and again and again. And the other day, like, a song came on the radio, and I got this really lovely feeling that I was driving, not me driving because I was obviously 6. That wouldn't work.
That would be
dangerous. I was we were driving through France and the song was on, and then I suddenly expected like a song, I can't think, like a Bangles song, for example, to come on afterwards, because I was like, oh, then that, and I would know this song would finish and then the next song would come on, and then I googled it to see if I could find it. I was like, do they have it on Spotify? No, because you remember those distinct, like, the order of the songs.
Absolutely. And, like, for me, very specifically, and this is sort of a slightly later song, but I remember the song The Day We Caught the Train by Ocean Colour Scene, and it was like a really good summer, and I was on holiday, and that was like the song of that summer, and if I hear it now, it's just like, straight back to being a kid again. It's just
it's like festivals. Like I went to Glastonbury '97.
Right.
And I'm so happy I did that, because I didn't really ever go. I didn't go to Glastonbury again. I was 17 years old. I had blue hair. I had lots of piercings, and I went with a couple of friends, and it was very, very, very muddy, but it was the year that Radiohead headlined and The Prodigy headlined, and it was all the indie bands like Ocean Colour Scene, Reef, Beck, Ash, like all my friends. And I just have this such happy memory of just being very muddy in a field with blue hair with these 2 girls, and just like covered in mud and not caring and staying up all night. And now, like, I went camping on the weekend and I just was like, too posh to pitch. That's my new phrase.
This is it. I think I missed that.
Airbed. Have an airbed. I was in the tent by 11. I stopped drinking by 8 because I didn't want to be hungover. And I was like, oh, how times have changed to those days.
Do you? Because I turn 40 next year, and do you feel? Because for me, I'm a big Beatles fan, and none of them were 30 when they split up, which And John Lennon was 40 when he died. So I find myself going, shit, should I be doing something seriously now? Because he managed to fit his whole life in. Are you feel? I mean, obviously you're saying about the kid life crisis thing, but do you? I mean, you're already doing stuff, so maybe that answers it. But do you feel like you should be doing more? Is there something? Are you aware of that milestone in a?
Yeah, do you know what? It was weird because I said I'd turned 40 in April in lockdown, and I don't normally do anything for my birthday really, but because I was turning 40 and I was having this massive panic, just generally, not just the kid thing, but just this general like, what am I? What am I doing? I don't know what I'm. And the rant I'd had at Shoned was that I sort of sorted things a bit now, but there was a point where like only a year or so ago, I was living with my parents. I only passed my driving test in February this year. I feel like I couldn't drive. I was living with my parents because I was having a rent break. I don't own a property. Basically, I could give you a list of things I felt like I wasn't grown up enough. I could see all my friends to have, like, I've got some friends who are going, we've got a second home now. I don't know. And so and one of my friends had 4 kids, and like you're suddenly going, what am I supposed to have done this? Like, what have I chosen? But so I had planned a party. I booked a place in King's Cross to have a party with friends on the week after my actual birthday, and I was really excited about it. And then obviously like that got cancelled, and my 40th in the end was really lovely. I spent it with my parents. So my dad was like, well, 40 years ago, today you spent it with us. So no, and what, you know what was lovely is that people made a massive effort. So my boyfriend got loads of videos from friends, and my sister did as well. And it was a really amazing video where people did messages with people I hadn't seen for like 20 years, people I went to uni with, people I worked in TV with. And it made me cry a lot, and it felt amazing. And I felt so good. I thought, I've got lovely people in my life. I'm really grateful. Again, it's sounding a bit cheesy. I was like, I'm really grateful for what I've got. Yes, I've chosen a slightly different path, maybe to other people, but that's brave and that's courageous, and I've done it slightly differently. So I weirdly, once I'd got to the 40 bit, I now feel quite proud. Like, sounds not proud I've made it, like I'm still here, guys. But yeah. Quite proud, and quite like proud of my achievements, and also like this is a new start. It feels like I don't know, with a decade, sometimes it feels like a new clean start, I suppose. I think for me as well, I'd had like before that I'd lost a couple of friends. Like I lost a friend who was about to turn 40 last year, like he died, and it was really sad. The last text I ever got from him was an invitation to his 40th, which was, it's horrible. So I'm darkening the tone slightly here. But we still celebrated his 40th. We felt we should. And I lost another friend who was younger in February, and we couldn't go to the funeral because of lockdown and stuff. So I just felt really great. I genuinely felt grateful. My health is good, touch wood, and my family are okay. And my attitude was a bit like, I have nothing to moan about. This is all good. And it feels like a nice, clean start. And I definitely will still have a party, I think.
Yeah, you should do, yeah.
Next year, I think I think actually once I have a party, even if I do it later, like when I'm 41, I can still pretend I'm 40, which is nice. I think people are going to want to party even harder.
Well, maybe, yeah.
I think more people would come than would have come to the actual party. Because I think people can be like, I need a big party. So I think. Are you going to do anything for yours? Are you going to do anything big?
Yeah, are you going to? I'm not sure I want to.
I don't know really. I don't know. I'm not really a party person really. I don't know. We'll see what happens really.
My wife turns 40 before I do, so she's 40 next January, and I'm not 40 till the following year in May. So
because we share the same birthday.
We've got the same birthday,
year apart.
Same day but a year apart. Yeah. So which I always rub in, because I'm a year younger. So
I'm not that bothered, because a year difference is we're going to die about the same time, Glenn.
You're probably right.
Make sure of it.
Right. I'm going to but I do. She's categorically said no party, and I'm still like, does that mean you want a party? I'm still trying to read between the lines. But actually, a friend of mine turned 40 during lockdown, and she had the whole video message thing, and a couple of other people. I know another guy I know who turns 50 soon, and he's done the video message. His partner's done the video message thing for him. That's a really
lovely.
It's a really nice idea, and actually, it's something that you almost don't want to kind of think that should be a thing that people do now, because it's
keep it as well.
Yeah, and you get that, and
keep it, and
you never get that necessarily in a live party situation. You never get that chance for people to say things that they're saying on those videos in real life. Like, loud. You walk into a loud party and everyone's having a chat and having a good time and everyone's a little bit drunk. No one's probably going to say those things to you. So actually, it's a really nice. I think everyone should do that as part of.
I actually made one for one of my friends for his 40th, because I've learned how to edit. I volunteered to do it, and he was so thrilled with it. And people went all out. Like some people did like dance routines, like characters. Someone dubbed the Golden Girls and did like a little thing for that. And it was so much fun to edit, and it was really lovely. And his parents did a lovely message that made me cry, and like it was so. And he just loved it. He absolutely loved it, and that was my present to him. I was like,
right, yeah.
Like, I've got no money, so you can just have a video. But he was like, that's such a lovely gift.
But also, I think in life you take people for granted in normality. So at a party, again, you're not really thinking about celebrating the person. It's really nice to have it. It's again like the funeral thing, isn't it? People realise afterwards, why did I not tell this person how I felt about them? So it's a really nice way. I think hopefully this situation will make us reframe things a little bit, even if it's just for a little while.
I hope so, because I feel like at the moment it's a weird one, isn't it? Because it feels like it's sort of half getting back to normal, but I'm still a bit too scared to like properly go out and do stuff. I'm still feeling a bit like, I'm not sure. But it's just sort of half back to normal, but it's not. I don't really know what it is. It's a bit weird, isn't it? I don't really know what it is anymore.
It feels too soon to me as well. So it's just, and you sort of feel it's going to come. Well, nothing's solved yet, is it? It's just we've sort of tried the thing.
And it's quite alarming when you go around town, and people are completely ignoring social distancing and no one's really doing it. And you kind of think, what is, you have to look at, and you think, well, all I can do is just do what I do and keep us out of the way of people and kind of social distance and do those things. But it is weird because a lot of people now are just forgotten about it. It feels like when you're walking around. It's very strange.
Definitely. So I went into London. I haven't, because I'm in Hitchin as well, as you know, but I went into London on Friday to see a friend, and the train was fine, the tube was fine, I had my mask on, I felt okay. And then as soon as I came out the tube, I went to Brixton, which is where I used to live, which is always a full-on great place, and that's what I loved about living there. It's so vibrant and fun. But I came out and I was like, whoa, it was really busy. And me and my friend went somewhere quiet and had a drink, and then when I came back it was a bit late. It was only like 8:30, but it felt really almost like it was back to normal. But again, it's like people on their phones not looking up, and people have had a bit too much to drink, so they're kind of swaying, and I kept my mask on, but I did feel quite tense. I was like, this is weird. If I stay here another couple of hours, this would get very rowdy.
I have to ask, actually, when you mentioned that you're living in Hitchin, how have you, so you're not from this area at all, are you? Because I'm a Hitchin born and bred. How do you find Hitchin?
He always says that. I grew up in Stevenage, which is 5 minutes down the road, and chose to live in Hitchin, and he's born and bred. Not that I'm bitter about this.
Born and bred. But do you like Hitchin?
I do love it. I mean, I was in London for like 15, 16 years, something like that. I went back to my parents for a bit to have a rent break because I was living in Brixton. The rent was going crazy. And then my boyfriend lives in Hitchin. So I met him through Lee and Dean, and Lee and Dean was filmed around Hitchin, Stevenage. So I spent a lot of time up here when we were filming because it was filmed around here. So I was put up in a hotel, Premier Inn, classic.
Oh, I love it.
Love a Premier Inn.
I love a Premier Inn, yeah.
Wonderful. And I really liked it. And I was probably a bit of a snob because I was like so used to London and it being accessible and everything being quick and blah, blah. And I suddenly was like, this is really nice. And it was half an hour to get into London. I had a couple of auditions on my days off, and I was like in and out of London really quickly. And I just thought it was really lovely. And I was considering moving here. And then me and Sam got together after Lee and Dean. And I started staying at his more, and we're moving in together like in a month or so. So this is a little flat I'm renting, which is lovely. As you can see, it's really nice.
Very nice.
Actually, that photo this my sister made me, which is a photo of all my friends and family that was for my 40th.
Oh, that's lovely.
Really
that's really nice.
Slightly, but I love it, and I think what I like is that it's like a nice buzzy town. It's enough to keep me busy, and there's enough going on, but I can go into London if I want to. But when I went into Brixton on Friday, and it's not just because of the lockdown, I loved the vibe again, but I felt like I was like, it was very overwhelming, and I felt like maybe it's an age thing, I don't know, but I was like, I need calm now.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think for me it is an age thing. I think as the older I've got, we've both always said I've always had, there's always been a point, especially when I left drama school, where I thought I might move to London and might do that. And then I ended up doing a lot of theatre touring stuff where I'd go away from home all the time. And I never really made that leap into London. And now, at the age I am now, especially with kids, but I kind of go, actually, I wouldn't want to live in London now. I definitely like living away from it, you know.
Yeah, and there were a lot of sort of snobbery at the time, actually, from a lot of actors always say, oh, you live all the way out there. And, you know, and it's like you say, half an hour. So you'd find, like when I was doing a show in London, I'd be home before a lot of the people who lived there.
And I think London as well, for me, it became quite a lonely place, which is crazy because you're surrounded by people. But I was single for a long time in London, and I lived in a house share, but it was a house share where we weren't all like best mates or anything. And a lot of my friends already met people or moved in with people and had kids, and I was getting really I was very busy, and I was very good at keeping busy. And I think I was keeping busy to not feel lonely. But if I had a day when I wasn't busy, I was really struggling. I think that's when the depression was bad, because I was like, I feel like I'm in this city and there's all these people, but I don't feel connected to anyone. And it's a bit sad. Like I'd go for a walk on like a free day and I'd see big groups of friends, but they're always much younger. So I think for my age, I was in my 30s and like all my friends sort of moved on. And I started to feel really disconnected and really like, I actually weirdly with Hitchin, I was a bit nervous about moving because I'm here because my boyfriend lives here and also I like it, but I didn't want to just hang out with his friends. And obviously I know some of the guys around here worked on Lee and Dean, so I've got friends there, but I did feel a bit nervous, but I have sort of made friends. Like I started a book club. I've started a little book club in Hitchin. Again, I put something on the Facebook Hitchin group saying, does anyone know of a book club? And loads of people like, oh, I'd love to be in a book club. And I just started one in a little cafe, that Fussy and Bayer cafe.
Fussy and Bayer in town, yeah.
Oh, cool. The lady in that said, oh, do you want to use this cafe? And it was cut long story short. I started a book club and I've now got this lovely little, and we're doing it online at the moment, and it's such a lovely group of people. And because I love reading, and it's just like and sometimes we just chat like about stuff that's not to do with the books, but I feel like I've made more of an effort because I'm in a smaller town.
And there's such a community vibe, isn't there, in Hitchin?
But then if you found like with London, if you've ever lived in London, like it's so ridiculous because it's one city, but you'll go to someone, are you free next Friday? And they go, no, I'm free in 3 months on Friday. And then you go, oh, what should we do? And then you realise it will take an hour and a half to get to them because it's the other side of London. And then it'll fall through. You'll go somewhere and it will be standing room only because everywhere's rammed. And obviously with a hearing problem, you're like, I can't hear anything now anyway. But at least around here, you can get a table and chair.
And also,
I'm not standing anymore.
Oh, well, yeah. But also it's like, I don't know about you, for like with castings and stuff, it's quite nice to have that half an hour to go to get yourself into the mindset of, and now I'm going to do that thing. And then also to sort of wind down from it. So
yes, I do often have a nap on the train, which is lovely.
Yeah,
no, I like it. I think it's a lovely town, and it's just, I just think, especially with lockdown, I think if the lockdown had happened and I was in that Brixton house share,
God, it'd be,
my garden was a park, and obviously like, they closed some of the parks and stuff, but for a lot of people, the park is their garden, isn't it? I mean, there's just a lot of people for one park.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I've gone off on quite a few tangents, guys.
No,
sorry.
That's what it's about.
I was going to ask, you mentioned obviously Lee and Dean, and that's a huge thing. How did that come about?
That was crazy. That came about through Twitter, of all places.
Oh, right.
So Mark O'Sullivan, who is the dean in Lee and Dean, somehow we started following each other on Twitter. I don't know how. Like, I think we had someone in common, and he saw one of my posts or I saw one of his, and we started following each other. And I put a video on there of a trailer for a show. I don't know what video it was he saw, but it was me doing the Bridezilla character. And he direct messaged me and just said, hey, I just saw your video, and I'm just working on this like taster tape for Channel 4 for this thing called D&D, and we're casting this character, and we just wondered if you want to have a chat to us about auditioning. So cut long story short, I had a nice chat with him, and he said, oh, do you want to come for an audition? It's very informal. He said, you can improvise the character. We're trying to, we like people to help create the characters. And the audition was very laid back. It was with Miles and Mark, who were Lee and Dean, and they said, we've got this character called Mrs. Bryce D'Souza. We don't really know what she is yet, and she's going to be a client, and she's this and that. And then we just did this really fun audition that I sort of auditioned around it, and we sort of played around with it a bit. And it was really fun and laid back, and I wasn't nervous because they're such lovely guys. And then that was it. They just went, oh, we've got to get the sign off from Channel 4. And then I ended up doing the taster tape, which was like a 2-day shoot. Really enjoyed it, but also I was quite cynical because I've done so many like random pilots and stuff that you'll never see on TV that you get excited about, and you work in it. Like I've done a few things like that, and then nothing ever gets. It's never seen. You know, you never get. It never goes on. And again, thought I did it. I thought this is a really great idea. I really like the character, but I just, you know, this might not happen. And then they just phoned me about 6 months later and went, we've had a commission. And also because I think it was supposed to be a taster tape, and the guys are so like passionate about it, and they work so hard on it, and they were, you know, they're not given a lot of money to do a taster tape. They kind of made a first episode, which I don't think they were meant to, but they worked so hard on it. They gave Channel 4 and they went, there you go. And they went, oh my God, they were like, this is brilliant. And most of that is the first episode, a lot of that.
Right.
So, and then the rest is history. And it's just like, again, I didn't think about it. I didn't obsess about it. I didn't overanalyze it. I just went, I'm kind of used to these disappointments now. This was really great, but I'm going to forget about it now and park it because I've had all these other disappointments. And so it's really, again, that happened in a kind of natural way. It wasn't through a casting director. It was just, I happened to put a video on at the time when Mark was on Twitter. I don't know. And now I'm writing with Mark. We're writing a couple of things together, which is lovely. So we've got a couple of things in with some production companies, but
But they are such lovely guys, and there's such an attention to detail in that series with all the characters that you can completely understand how it worked, how it did so well, how it got another series kind of went on, because it's so everything. There's so much. You know, they're not just one-dimensional characters. There's so much in all those characters. Like your character is so... You've got this stuck-up woman, but, you know, especially towards the end, she's got a real... With the baby thing, it suddenly becomes quite touching, and you're like, I feel it really massively. You suddenly go, I'm feeling things about this character in herself. She's actually quite sad, and there's a lot more to that than that's what's really nice about it.
What was nice with those guys is they let us talk about the characters and get involved and like say what we want, because I was very much from the beginning like, can you try not to do a stereo, not that I don't think they would have, but I think me and Camille, who plays Nikki, we were like, I remember going to the pub on the first night when we did the taster tape, and Mark and they were both like, look, if you guys have got anything about the characters you're not sure about, and you know we're still working on it, and we both said, let's, you know, if you're going to do this, just try not to go down the stereotypical female role route of me being the bitchy jealous woman hating the younger woman, and her being a bitsy whatever. So we were like, you know, that's not realistic. Like if they, and we just sort of said, you know, then maybe they become friends, maybe there are other sides to them, and they totally took that on board, and they were like, we were kind of thinking that, and that was quite nice, because I have had, you know, in this industry as well, you get a lot of auditions or you read scripts that are like naggy girlfriend or at the moment I'm getting mum.
That's the stages of life.
Mum 40s.
Yes, I've noticed that as well, actually. Yeah, it used to be like quirky, young, and now it is dad. Yeah, and you're like, oh, really? Yeah, dad. Really?
And I've noticed that quite a lot, and I'm quite, and that's why I want to kind of write more of my own stuff. I just really love characters that are kind of unexpected or have flaws or just aren't the stereotypical kind of.
I think that's what sets that sort of comedy series apart from other stuff, though, is when you have more. They don't just follow that narrative or that sort of what you expect.
That's the stuff we prefer, isn't it? The naturalistic, subtle, real thing, rather than.
Have you guys watched I May Destroy You yet?
No.
I don't know if anyone on this chat has seen it, but it's fantastic, and it's a drama, but there's bits of humour. But I feel like that to me is like a broken the mold again. She's like, Michaela Cole has just written this incredible thing that's just broken the boundaries and just kind of it's almost it's quite uncomfortable to watch it, but in some of it's quite shocking. But I love that she's done that, because it feels like you're watching them and going, I love that you're just not breaking the mold, but you're really going for it, and you're just going, I don't care, I'm just gonna tell you what I want and explore these very uncomfortable issues. But I think she does it very well. I do recommend it if anyone's not watched it. It's very good.
Do you find with like because you often do the sort of higher status characters, do you like your characters? Or, you know, do you like the person there, or because I guess they might start as sort of sending up a you know, like you said, things you were pissed off about, but do you use a lot of you in them, or are they people you like, or are they people you?
There's probably not. I don't know if there's much of me in them. I suppose. Right. I suppose I don't know. You know what? It's interesting. I don't know. So in some ways, they're very not me. They're very. They're quite confident, and they're quite they come across as confident. I think some of them come across quite interesting. I think some of them come across as quite cold or unfeeling. And I think I have been told by people when they first met me, they've sometimes thought that of me, but that's a bit of shyness, weirdly. I have to be aware that I sometimes come across like that because I can be quite shy. And again, it's a bit of like I'm holding back, not joining in because I'm worried that I'm going to say something wrong. But there probably is an element of that. I'm quite good at that face, which is probably my face. But I always like to find with the characters some humanity, some poignancy, or something that's made them the way they are, which sounds easy again, but there's always something. There's always, or they might have no friends. Like my Bridezilla character, the wedding show I did, by the end of it, she completely melts down, and there's like a couple of minutes where there's no comedy in the script. There's like a bit where I just break down and go, I don't know what I'm doing this wedding, because the idea is that the fiance, it's a wedding rehearsal, the show, and the fiance hasn't come to the wedding rehearsal, so she's trying it out with an audience, like really patronizing them. And at the end of it, she's kind of like, basically lots of things go wrong and they're planted to go wrong. And then she has a breakdown and goes, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know if I like him. I think I'm just doing it to have a wedding, and actually he's not very nice. And then she has a bit of a meltdown. The audience are like, oh my God, like she's quite sad and she hasn't got any friends. Like no one's said they'll come to the hen night. And then the way I did the show, like the fiance character would burst in at the end. So I'd get a cameo of a comedian and they'd come onto the stage and I'd act like it was all normal. They'd go, sorry, I'm late. And then I'd be like, oh, okay, let's just start from the beginning. And then when they had their back to me to walk up the aisle, I'd look at the audience and go like that. And every time, because it was an interactive show and the audience knew the story, they'd go, leave him. They'd shout, boo. And I didn't have to do a thing. It was incredible. I'd just go like that and they'd go, no, leave. They'd be so into it. And I'd walk, the end of the show is I'd storm out.
Right.
No, I think that was the first year I did it. The second year I did it, I'd jilt the fiance and they would go. So I had a couple of comedians do the cameo, and then in Edinburgh, the second year I did it, when I did it in a massive venue because it had taken off, I got Marcus Brigstock did it. He was incredible. And the funniest one I had was Al Murray. He did it, and I asked him to do it. I don't really know him. I just met him and I went, do you want to be in my show? He's like, yeah, okay, fine. And it was an improvised part. And I said, look, at the end, I'm going to have a breakdown, blah, blah, blah. And then you're going to walk in and go onto the stage, have a bit of banter with me, be rude to me, then turn your back on me. I'm going to jilt you. And he was brilliant. But when he walked on, it was hilarious because he walked on and I was like, oh my God, Simon's here, my fiance. And people were like, it's Al Murray, guys. People started filming him. Right, and he was amazing. And then I jilted him and he stormed off and people were booing him because in the character. So I've gone off on one a bit, but
amazing.
Not at all.
But that's so good though, because it's that you've taken them on that journey. That's the best type of comedy, where you've been taken on a journey that isn't all just funny, but there's a bit of sadness in there, and they've committed to that.
And even with those short videos, like those sort of 1 minute ones, you get that sense already that is this person really happy? The line that really got me, because I watched them again today, was because I haven't cried since 1995. I thought it was brilliant, very funny. But yeah, no, it's great. But I tell you, like everything you've been saying, it's very sort of energizing. But I love all of the things where you're more relaxed, or you're not really overthinking it, or you're not really considering it as a serious thing. I think that's when everyone sort of does their best work. It shows obviously, because in the stuff you've been doing, all the stuff that
I'd recommend. There's a book I'd like to recommend to people if they do creative stuff, and you guys as well. Called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I'll actually write this in the chat bit.
Cool. I've just written it down as well.
Big Magic. And it's so Elizabeth Gilbert is the author that wrote Eat, Love, Pray. Right. If you know that. Yeah. And she basically, it's a book about the tagline is creative living a creative life without fear. And it's a book that's all about being an artist in whatever way that is, and that's whether you are acting or writing, or you want to paint stuff or paint stuff and not show anyone, or just being creative. It doesn't mean like making a career out of it. It's just choosing to be creative. And it's the most incredible book. I've read it twice. I bought it for Mark and my writing partner. He loves it, and every time I feel a bit worried and nervous about what I do, I go back to it. And she has some fun, and exactly what you were saying, she talks about the least effort thing and ideas coming to you, and how you will work for hours and days and weeks or something and it just doesn't work, and then the tiniest idea works. And she also describes living a creative life as if you're driving a car and creativity, she describes it as creativity is a passenger, but also fear is a passenger. And that you always have to accept that fear will always be in the car. So she does this amazing chapter where she says, so imagine you're on a car journey, don't let fear sit in the passenger seat and tell you what to do, and make sure creativity is sitting in the front and guiding you. And she said, let fear be there, because she's a bit like, accept that you're going to have fear, and because you're going to be vulnerable if you put your work out there. So don't tell fear to leave the car. I'm sounding a bit mad here.
No,
she's like, don't let fear leave the car. Let them be in the back seat, but just say to them, if they start piping up going, you're rubbish, or no one's going to like this, just say, thanks for your opinion, but you're not driving, so just sit in the back seat. And it's little things like that I always go back to when I'm nervous about doing a creative thing, and I just go back to her book, or I imagine that and go, okay, it's okay to be scared. That's part of what you do. It's not going to go.
Yeah, exactly. And I think however long your career is, whatever you're doing, that will always be there. And if it isn't there, then you wouldn't be sort of energizing the right bits of you to do something creative
I
anyway.
think when people, like, even if I've seen some big acts pace back and forth if they go on, like Paul O'Grady is one of the funniest people I've ever met. And great, before he did the show, that live show on Channel 4, I'd often be backstage preparing stuff, and he'd walk up and down a bit and he'd chat. And I always felt like the chat was just, he needed to chat, like he'd just chat to whoever was standing next to him, and he'd go back and forth. And I don't know whether that was nerves or what it was, but he wasn't just stood there being confident. He was going back and forth, like, and I think anyone gets like that. I mean, maybe unless they're a sociopath, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean about even the imposter syndrome thing. It's to have. I mean, because I'm a big, as I say, Beatles fan, big Paul McCartney fan. There are two things. One, there's a lyric in one of his recent songs, and it's everybody's busy doing better than me. And he's talking about how, when he's there trying to do his thing and he's looking at everyone else and they're more successful. This is fucking Paul McCartney, for fuck's sake, in the biggest band ever. And he's thinking that. And at this stage of his life. And also the fact that the song Yesterday, which is the most covered song of all time, he dreamt it. He woke up with it in his head, thought somebody else had written it, worked it out on a piano and played it. So again, it's those sort of, I know I'm going from a tangent, but the sort of, the most, everyone's feeling that thing. And if, like you say, if you're a sociopath, that sort of level of arrogance will get you through, but you lose people on the way.
Maybe Trump is someone who doesn't have the fear. I don't know.
I can't imagine him having the fear.
I can't imagine him going, don't say that.
No, a man who starts editing, like saying stuff about like, drinking bleach and stuff and like sort of, think, oh God. But it's also, because I read a book about him recently and it said for him, it's not about having the best idea, it's about having it first. So having the first idea and being right for him, that's intelligence, that's cleverness. And that's because
in this
he's
book,
not a human being.
The Elizabeth Gilbert book, she talks about a muse, but in her idea, a muse is like what you said, like an idea coming to you. And she, there's a really good, I'm not going to do it justice, you have to get the book, but she talks about an idea she had for a book that she sort of half dreamt, and it was a very specific fiction book that was set in the Amazon in the 70s about a woman who just got divorced. Or it's quite a specific story, and I think she sort of half dreamt it and then read an article and was like, oh, that's an amazing story, what a great beginning. She started writing it, got a bit stuck. And then she spoke to her agent about something, and then another book offer came through, a non-fiction, and she just went off on that. Right. And then about a few months later, she went to a book talk thing with some other authors, met an author that she'd always loved, and they went for coffee, hit it off. And she said, I've always loved your work. And she said, are you working on anything now? And this woman said, yeah, I'm working on a new book. It's about a woman in the Amazon rainforest in the 70s. And she basically, it was almost like bullet point word for word what Elizabeth started. And she started it just as Elizabeth stopped. So Elizabeth had this amazing sort of revelation that she was like, she feels like an idea doesn't belong to you. And then it like goes, she felt like she'd been given the idea, but she couldn't do it justice. So it had gone through the universe and been given to this other author. And I love this idea that maybe an idea just comes to you and you either take it or you go, no, you can have it. It sounds a bit weird, but I kind of love that.
And that makes sense with like you're saying about, the middle of the night ideas, because it's when your brain isn't quite over intellectualizing, it's just sort of there reading it. And that's when, I sort of, that too many things happen like that for there not to even I don't know. It's a nice thought to have, but it's definitely about freeing up.
Kids are so good at playing and stuff because they don't have a filter. They don't have they don't care what anyone thinks. There's nothing there. The ego isn't there. So I love playing with my niece and nephew because they come up with like amazing ideas and games. They just don't, because they don't have that thing of like, well, will anyone like it? Will anyone?
Exactly.
And I just think that sense of play is like what we should sort of all be doing.
Yeah, and that's what we're all in a job where you want to do that. Yeah, exactly. It's about, and again, another Paul McCartney story. He said when somebody asked him recently about, why do you still work? And he says, no, you play music, you play it. And I thought that was a really nice, guy in his 70s still feeling that way. That's really inspiring.
Before we go, Paul McCartney anecdote for you that you might enjoy. So when I was like 22 or something, I was working at Nickelodeon in Soho. That was my first little TV job and I was 22 and I was stood outside having a cigarette, because I used to smoke then, crazy times, with my friend. And we were stood there having a cigarette and this guy was walking towards me and I looked up and went automatically, I think my head very quickly went, oh, you know him, it's your dad's friend. I went, hey, hi. I was like, oh, you all right? He just sort of stopped and went, yeah, I'm good. How are you? And I was like, yeah, I'm not bad. Yeah, nice to see you. He was like, yeah, great to see you too, and walked off. And I just stood there with my cigarette going, my friend was like, do you know Paul McCartney?
Brilliant.
And I genuinely, he's so recognisable as a person. And I genuinely, my parents also, because they grew up in Liverpool, they both saw the Beatles separately when they were in the Cavern.
Right,
but I think my dad saw them as a support band, which I love.
Wow, that's cool.
I saw the Beatles. They were a support band. I thought they were okay. I thought the band was better that they were supporting. But I saw him and my brain went, you've got to say hello because you know this guy. And he walked past and I was like, my friend was like, do you know him? I was like, no. But what a nice guy that he said hello.
Yeah, that's the best way to meet them as well, isn't it? Because there's no pre-thought about what am I going to say to this person who's hugely famous. You just went straight in there.
It felt like he gets that a lot, I reckon.
Well, I think he probably does, yeah. But I've met him twice, and both in Soho, actually, because that's where his offices are. And again, this thing about magic, because I'm a big Beatles fan, so that was what made me learn the guitar, get into music. And my dad took me, when my parents were getting divorced, as like a sort of, a compromise for them getting divorced, took me to Liverpool to do the whole sort of tour and stuff. And we went on the Magical Mystery Tour thing. And for me, I was so excited because I'd always wanted to go there. And it was because I just weirdly as a child was into this thing, from what felt like olden times at that time. And we did the Magical Mystery Tour thing, and they went towards the Liverpool Empire. And I remember the guy saying, well, the Beatles played there 10 times, and all this sort of thing. When I was 22, my second job, I played Paul McCartney in a show, and we went and we played the Liverpool Empire. And again, it's it was like that was all for me, because I specifically remember being there with my dad, being so excited going to see this thing that was like a dream. And there I was a few years later, playing him. And that's just, you go, and also because I'm a big Buddy Holly fan and I played him in a show as well. So it's like things that I specifically grew up really into and interested in. I ended up doing that, being them in a thing that you can't write that, you can't plan that. That's just something where the universe goes, this is the way this will go, and the more you tune into that, I think, and enjoy, because when I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling depressed or about work, and like you say, and thinking, oh, I'm not doing anything I want to do, every so often I have a conversation and that'll come up and I go, oh yeah, no, I did that. That's a really cool thing, and I may not have any money and I may not, be a proper adult or whatever it might be, but I go, that's a really cool thing. And the fact that my dad took me there and then he came to see the show in Liverpool as well, it's mad, and because he passed away last year as well, it's these sort of things that go, I don't know, it's just a special thing, and I think it's just, So I definitely believe in that sort of universe thing, giving you, and all of your examples of what you've been saying today, they're all like, you couldn't plan that.
Yeah, they're not, they weren't. I didn't try too hard. When I tried too hard, I kept emailing agents, and not that I was, that does work for some people, but as soon as I let go of that and kind of left it to the universe, it kind of worked weirdly.
You're right. It's definitely inspired me. I think that there's a pressure to life, and I've definitely I felt it more having children since I've had children, and my oldest is now 7. But everything becomes about the need to kind of do things, to earn money, to kind of survive, and then that kind of creative thing I think it sort of left my brain a bit. And I think, and it's interesting actually, you talking about characters and stuff, and I think I feel like I need to go back and look at things I've written down and notes I've made about characters, because I think my dream would be to have a character that I created that I could then do as a thing, but I'm always held myself back from that by going, no, I don't think it's good enough. I won't write that, or I won't. But then
I think, Lynn, if my sort of, because obviously we know each other so well, we're so close. I think you sometimes disregard, because you're thinking about the thing you should do. You don't realise that you've been doing a lot of that stuff anyway. And even like Mostly Comedy was another one of those things that we never planned to run a comedy club, and it was just literally crossing a road in Edinburgh going, we could do that and then it became
cut to meeting Paul Daniels at Mostly Comedy.
Yeah, exactly. But like, again, someone who grew up watching, and you get people. They should never have played our club, and while it's not what we want to do, really, it's sort of an accidental thing. Even stuff like this, in interviewing people and Rory Bremner and stuff, you sort of go and when this whole COVID thing happened and we set up the Just Giving thing, there were like 74, 75 messages, like your song you said, funny enough, Glyn. 74, 75. Saying, oh, we really hope how much people love it. And you go, well, we've spent the whole time going, oh, we're doing that thing and it's stressful and we'd rather be writing our sitcom and stuff. And yet there's this thing that we do along the side that we would both disregard. Like we were talking today about like possibly like running a theatre, and I was like, well, don't forget you do run a really successful regular event. So
give yourself a pep talk. That's the thing, isn't it?
That's it. Or giving each other a pep talk, isn't it?
I think it's because it's like, I think when you achieve something or you think I want this, I think it's like a life thing, isn't it? You go, oh, this is what I want to do this, and once you've done it, it's like you go, okay, well, what next? It's like it's a natural human thing, I think. But I know my friend was telling me a couple of actor comedian friends I know had suddenly done very well and like really broken through, which obviously like people do at different stages, or they as in really like big TV stuff and blah blah. And they were suddenly, my friend said that she said a couple of them had said to her, well, I really why aren't I getting why can't I get an LA agent, or why can't I get a film part in LA? And you're like, how have you jumped from
exactly
like but I can see how you could, because you've probably gone, I want this, I've done that, I've done that, and then suddenly you're at a point where you're like, it wouldn't be far off the radar for maybe that person to go, I should be auditioning for Hollywood films, and then they're like, well, why am I getting Hollywood films? Their agent, and I totally get that, but it doesn't mean anything you did before that wasn't relevant.
You lose perspective, don't you? Yeah.
I feel like for a long time, and I corrected people quite a lot, especially relatives sometimes, or other people like friends of friends or school friends would go, it's like you're doing so well, it's great, you're going to make it one day, that kind of, you're going to make it. And I always have to go, but I'm doing what I love. It's not all the time, and I'm not famous, and I'm not in LA or whatever you think of famous, and I'm not like, I haven't got my own show and whatever, but so I feel like when you say made it, I feel like I have, but to them it's like, oh well, to have made it, you need to be really famous. But obviously the percentage of people who actually, especially actors, the amount of actors there are, and like how many of us are working and how many are actually very well known, that's very unusual. So it's like a bit, but people still feel like they need to say, you haven't quite done it yet, but you will.
But what my mum said to me is, well, when you're successful, and you're like, so I'm not successful in any. And it's a weird thing, that, isn't it? And people assume they know what you're out for, and maybe you're enjoying, like I say, this thing, for example, is the most proactive Glyn and I together, because suddenly we're forced in a situation. We've had more sort of linked time when we can do this. This is an accidental thing that's a really, really valuable thing for us, really enjoyable. You don't get any money from it, but you're not doing it for that reason. You're just doing it as a chance to have a chat with people that
videos like I put a little I think what did the second or third one, I put a little donation page, this like
the coffee thing.
You can buy someone a coffee, and I felt awful doing it. I said, if anyone wants to buy me a coffee to support me, you can go on this Ko-fi thing and think. And I hated putting that. I felt really weird. But it was lovely, because then people did buy me coffees. And at the time I couldn't go out and buy a coffee, but I got some donations, and it was so lovely. Like every time I got a little, like someone's bought you a coffee, and they put a comment going, well, that made me laugh, I hope you get a latte or whatever. And
so good.
So nice.
Yeah, I saw that today. Actually, I will promote that now. That's ko-fi coffee.com/Anna Morris. So go check that out, and you can buy her a coffee.
And also, we just had a comment in the chat room, Pete Hain, great to hear how the synchronicity of life works. And that's true, isn't it?
I do think it does, when you stop trying so hard, or when you just listen and you let things happen. Like I've had definitely had some moments in my life of like a coincidence, or like people being connected, like a very quick, before I go, like very quick, I'll try and make this short. This is a brilliant synchronicity story, that I did a yoga retreat in Tuscany about 3 years ago, went on my own, met all these women that were on their own, met this lovely Australian girl who I got on really well with. A year later, I got an offer at the Melbourne Comedy Festival. So I went over to Melbourne, and I decided when I was there to meet up with an old friend of mine who I met traveling 10 years previously. So 10 years previously, I'd gone to Melbourne, gone traveling, met this girl in a hostel. She lives in Melbourne, fine. She's English. She'd moved to Melbourne with her girlfriend. So I stayed with her. This is trying to make this as simple as I can. Stayed with my friend Joni in her flat with her partner. And then this girl from the Tuscany yoga retreat, who I hadn't seen for a year, who I'd met once for a week, I said, look, I'm in Melbourne, love to catch up with you. She said, yeah, let's go for dinner. I'll pick you up. It's like, great. She said, I'll pick you up. What's your address? So I said, it's a block of flats. So just park on this road in this place. So I was running a bit late. She pulls up, she texts me going, I'm here. Are you ready? I was like, oh, sorry, I'm running a bit late. She said, I'll come into the building. So I said, it's this building. Go up the stairs. I'll open the door. So I heard her coming upstairs, and I could hear her going, Anna. And I was like, what? So I opened the door. She went, my cousin lives here. I was like, what? She walked into the room, and my friend's girlfriend, who's Australian, came out of the bedroom, and they both went, why are you here? And it turns out they're cousins, they're first cousins.
Mad. Whoa, absolutely.
And mad. Me and my friend Joni, who we met traveling 10 years ago, were going, what? And they were like, what are the chances that they're cousins? They'd seen each other a month before or whatever. And they were like, oh, how's Auntie blah, blah, blah. And I was just going, and it just felt really like really Deepak Chopra agrees. I have there's a book that he's written that's I have in my shelf. I've got a shelf of like self-help and spirituality books.
Okay.
Some have helped, some haven't. Sometimes it's just there to make me feel better. But I love those little stories. It feels like that was just a weird like little thing.
It just gives you a little bit of energy, doesn't it? It gives you that night. It's just it's reframing again. I think it's the little things that make it. Oh, that's a thing. And again, funny enough, because I meditate a lot, and that's a really useful thing I do that before shows, and that's about sort of connecting with, I don't know, relaxing yourself so you're prepared to be open to what's happening around you.
I do a lot of yoga, and I do meditate at the end of the yoga. But meditation, I've done some apps, and they've been okay. But I keep saying to myself, I need to get back into that because my brain is very busy and it's not very good at slowing down. But when I have done it, it's been amazing. But I need to, that's a good idea. I need to get into the habit of that.
And the trick is remembering that it's okay if your brain's busy because your brain's going to do that. So just don't, and as long as you're aware of that. But it is a good thing. And Headspace is the one that everyone uses that I think is really
good. That's what I need to look at that one actually.
But,
and Calm's a good one. I've got Calm.
Yes. Right.
That's a really good one. But I just need to use it more. And exercise for me is just the best thing.
Yes, I started running during lockdown, and that was a weird thing that I've never done before in my life.
Are you doing the couch to 5K thing?
Yes, that's exactly what I did. And actually, weirdly, I started before we were in lockdown just because I was supposed to be going on a theatre tour, and I was supposed to be getting on stage and actually doing an acting job for the first time in a while. Fitness-wise, I thought, it's quite a fast-paced comedy play thing I was doing. And I was like, I'm going to have to be fit to run backwards and forwards and do that. So I need to do some exercise. So I did, started the 5K, couch to 5K, and did it all the way to the end. Sadly, the last few weeks, I've kind of let myself down a lot, but I did buy a bike, and I have bought a bike and gone down the cycling route again, which I used to do. So I've kind of gone that way.
I got the 5K a week ago, week 9. And I was really smug. I felt awful the next day. I did a 5K and the next day felt, apparently it's a runner's hangover, apparently.
I'm
really sick and shaky. Then I got really smug and I was like, I'm an athlete now. I'm basically an athlete. And I'm this weekend I've seen a few friends and I've drunk wine and eaten a lot of cheese and tomorrow I need to run again. But I really enjoyed it. In the beginning, I could barely breathe, and I was like, I can't do this. And then suddenly I was running along with Joe Wiley's voice.
Did you have Joe? I was going to say, who did you have? Because I went for the guy. Oh God, what's his name? He got a really serious voice. And everything's like, come on, you're doing really well. He talks like that, and it's quite intense, but it's quite funny at the same time.
I really enjoyed that.
It was good.
I must do it more. It's quite.
I needed that though. Like, I don't think I could do it without someone telling me though, because I've gone back a few times and done. I actually had to go back to week 6 about 3 weeks later because I was like, God, I need to go back a bit because I'm not. This isn't great. And then I was like, no, I have to have this. I don't think I could run without someone telling me what I'm doing and how I'm going.
Because then you just think, because you're not telling yourself in your head, you're like, well, I'll just stop now.
I need that person telling me, you've only got 5 minutes left. Come on, keep going.
That's almost a bit like doing this podcast. I think if we didn't have people watching, even though we don't see them, we get the messages. It gives you that with them there. It gives you the energy to go. Let's do this properly, rather than. For the one
I could run next to you and shout if that helps. We live
that
in
would
the
actually,
actually, if we do that next time, that would.
I'm in character as Georgina. Don't stop! Come on, you're weak.
That
like immediately, you're like, I'm doing this.
Yeah. That's what I need.
Really push you. I could charge for this. It could be like a boot camp thing.
You need to record your own version of the Couch 5K where you do that. You are that voice.
You're genuinely giving me ideas for a video now.
Good.
Excellent.
I could film myself running, and then I could record the voiceover of me doing a really aggressive. Aggressive motivational voice.
Pete Haynes just said, "Let's set up a running club." Not so sure about that one, Pete. I might.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah,
we're all in Hitchin.
I like to have a running club where everyone's not good at running, because I've done running before with friends, and it's always been like I've just been left behind. So if as long as everyone's the same level as me, I don't mind.
I think some people can be traumatized from PE lessons. So when I was a kid, I used to run and do athletics. Kids used to take the mickey out of me and say that I ran with my legs sticking out. And so I, in my head, have always convinced myself that I can never run because my legs will stick out and people will laugh at me.
Right.
So I've got to the age of 40 and suddenly gone, if my legs stick out, that's fine. So I started doing the Couch 5K, and as I was running, I genuinely was like, well, people gonna in the park, it's gonna laugh. They're gonna be like, her legs are sticking out. And even when I went to get proper like running trainers, they measure you, they check your gait and they watch you run. And I was really nervous. I was like, what if the guy says that my legs stick out and I have to have various trainers? And then he went afterwards, he's like, yeah, you've got your feet land fine and blah blah. And I was like, do my legs stick out? He's like, no. So I feel like all my life, I
wasted the time because
you could have been
the thing for me I've been doing exercise wise, because again, being like a musician, I bought, and this again probably sounds like the things you were sending up in the video, but I bought an electric drum kit, because it's one thing I play different instruments, but I've never really sort of worked on the drums, and that again is really good for not thinking too much, because if you've been in your sort of thinking brain for too long, just to go and play and just sort of get into the rhythm of thing, you sort of it's sort of. So that's my exercise. I might not be running, but it's just doing those things, isn't it, that make you feel a bit better for a moment, but doing different things.
I found a key when I was at my parents'. I found a really old keyboard, a 1990 Yamaha.
Excellent. Right.
And I brought it back to the flat, and I stopped. I did piano lessons till I was about 12, and then I became a teenager and went, I'm not doing piano.
I did that. That was me. I did that. Yeah.
And then you regret it and go, wish I had. So I've now got this like awful Yamaha keyboard, and I'm doing that. Oh God, I can't remember what it's called now. The piano app thing. It'll come to me. Tune it. No, I can't remember what it's called.
I know anything you mean, but I can't remember.
Does it have House of the Rising Sun as a keyboard demo on it?
Or Venus? That's the
I remember. I had all the ones I had House of the Rising Sun or Venus. I
wish I had it with me. I'll do a demo. But I've been doing that and learning again, and it's really fun. I mean, my neighbour must hate me because it's awful. I was playing Jingle Bells the other day, and I think she must hate me because it's very loud.
But no, it's great. Do that. You never, and obviously none of us are old, but you never get too old to do a new thing or to try. And the minute you think, well, I'm full now, that's everything I do. That's when it get. You don't have the excitement goes. So I think it's great to do that. We probably should draw this to a close, but it's been a lovely chat.
I feel like I've waffled a lot, but I've really enjoyed it. It's been a lovely chat.
No, it's been really
It's been lovely, and come and do it again, and also come back to. Well, now you're down the road. Come back to Mostly Comedy when we're back and running again.
I'd love to. It'd be lovely when we can do gigs again, and I can come and do an aggressive running coach.
That'd be good, please. Which we both need, so that'd be a good thing.
With us as little kind of credits for giving you the idea, so
we definitely get a cut.
Yeah.
It's like when Lee and Herring came up with the Alan Partridge character in the Day to Day. I think they're still quite bitter that they weren't credited, so we do need the credit. Not just the credit, the money. The money would be.
Yeah, that's more important, really.
That's absolutely fine. Yeah, from the aggressive app the online app. We could make an app.
Let's do it.
Exactly.
And Pete again says thanks, Anna. Great fun.
Thanks for coming. Thank you for listening to me waffle. I hope it's been interesting. And
it really has.
I don't feel like I'm waffle anymore. I feel like I've had a nice chat.
Yeah, and that's what this should be, really. And again, I like to say it's so lovely that the things that you've done, the way it's worked out, and that it was by those little moments that just happened because they happened. I think that's great. And maybe you don't need to have the imposter syndrome you feel you have because you're doing it.
Yeah,
is the thing. And it's
very inspiring. Very inspiring.
Good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Lovely. Well, take care, Anna, and we'll see you again soon.
And there we have it. That was the brilliant Anna Morris.
Yeah, we said lovely at the beginning. We've upgraded it to brilliant now. So
brilliant, exactly. Now we've spoken to her. we can officially say she's brilliant. She's brilliant. And it's not a word I say often because it's a word that I struggle to say because I do have a weak R sometimes.
You do,
so as I said I hesitated.
If you ever come to Mostly Comedy and I'm saying the name, introducing the act, it is probably either because it has an R in it or Glyn's not sure about the pronunciation of it. So Rory Bremner, there's a struggle there because you've got Rory and then you've got Bremner.
It's my bad.
Say it, Glyn. Say it.
It's the trouble with, and I had this all through drama
school. Stop prevaricating. Say it.
What? Rory Bremner? Oh God! Don't make me say that. I'm really not. It's too late at night for me to even consider the R sound.
Just say an R in isolation now, and I'll dub it in over them.
R.
There you go. Be fine. It's a bit farmery, but
it's R. I know. I don't know what an owl sounds like anymore. I've forgotten. It's really weird, isn't it? But it's a sound. What's it called? A word, a letter that I always struggled with. God, it's that. It's so late.
Some sort of mental breakdown now. So,
But I always have to work really hard at when it comes to shows and things like that. And I always have to do a lot of warm ups to get the R. And I think the less I've done live stuff, particularly the last few months, we haven't done anything.
You've
where I've had
barely said R at all.
Exactly.
I've
just avoided the letter R altogether.
You've just been doing vowel sounds.
Yeah. My kids have got no R's in their names purposely. So it's,
was that really an intentional thing?
No, it should be. No, I actually just thought it just now, but it should have been, shouldn't it? I'm just trying to think if they have anywhere else actually. Yeah, well, there's a Peter in there which has got an R sound in it, but it's not a Robert or a Richard or a Oh God! Moving on.
Yeah, you just need to find a reason to sort of press your top lip as you're saying it. Just put your finger on it.
Yeah,
and
just
did. Well, funny enough, it's a bit like I think we said something about this in the interview. The things you're sort of paranoid about that But I don't know what mine is like that. I used to have a real problem saying the word croissant.
Did you?
in that I overthink how it's supposed to be said, and as a result, and it's the R. I panic. So I don't even want to say it again.
But do you not think? For me, that word is a bit like it's like a similar pastry-based thing. It's like a pain au chocolat. It's like do you know
like the rhythm to that one? What the ha?
But it's
almost
like,
racist.
I'm not confident saying that out loud in public if I ever have to ask one, because you go, how French do I have to sound to make this sound right? Can I say I want a pain au chocolat or what? It's like I can't say that because but you kind of go
in a really authentic French accent.
Yeah, I have to like really French it up to make it sound like something that's like I want a pain au chocolat. I can't even do it with a French accent, but it's a weird. It's one of those. I lose confidence a bit, and I find that with croissant as well, because I lose confidence in croissant. A croissant. I want a croissant.
And French it up means something else actually. But
true.
But I like the idea of when you have to ask for one. There's occasions when you have to ask for a pain au chocolat.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to. Those occasions. Well, someone's got to ask for it. I don't know. Yeah. Why is it always the things you like as well? It's more annoying if it's the thing that you do want.
Oh, so I can't have that because I can't ask for it. Yeah, that chocolate-filled pastry. You have to just kind of end up kind of like stumbling over it because I've kind of lost confidence in it.
I don't know why we're even talking about this. Lovely chat, very really inspiring as you said before, and when someone is nice and good things have happened to them, it gives you a bit of positivity, doesn't it?
It does.
There's something right in the world when someone,
and a bit of hope as well, because I think that we talked about what you always kind of think of as what you've achieved and what you haven't achieved and all those sort of things, but it does give you a hope that there's other things out there and things can happen, and that's why I say it was an inspiring chat. But,
and there's a lot to be said for the things that happen when you're not trying, like we say, Mostly Comedy is a case in point, because it was never if we tried to set up something like that, it would never have had that sort of. I mean, obviously we did try, because
we tried a little bit.
No, but you know what I mean, like sort of.
You're right.
It just you would never have been able to plan it the way it worked, and to have people like Harry Hill or whatever it might be, it's crazy. But and also like we said with material, some of our sort of mainstays, and like the Star Trek porn letter being a case in point, but that was the second ever Mostly Comedy we did that, and the material never needed to change from that point, and it was just those little moments where an idea comes to you that just makes sense and you can't question it. And in fact, I remember one time when we did when we were in the writers group we used to be in, showing a video of that piece of material, which always just sort of works, and then someone in the room was like, going, it's like, so, well, no, you need to explain more. Well, it's like, no, you don't, because it's getting a laugh. So you don't. Shut up. And it's that thing about
over analysing, and that happened quite a lot with that particular writers group, didn't it? I remember that people would overanalyze for the sake.
There's a reason why we're not in it anymore.
Yeah, and it was useful for, and actually it was very useful. And a lot of people in it were hugely talented and have gone on to do amazing things. So
and then there's us.
But maybe they were right and we were wrong. I don't know. But actually, what a lot of those groups are, and this is like any group. I think of anything you ever do, it gets to the point with the group where you talk for the sake of talking. So people feel like they have to justify their existence in a group. So people say things, and actually when it comes to comedy writing, what you don't want to do is overanalyze it, and that's we've been guilty of that before. We've definitely overanalyzed stuff, I think before, and but actually like Anna said, a lot of the time it's best to not overthink it. Don't overthink stuff, and then that's where your best stuff happens, and
it's an instinct thing, isn't it? And like I say, if the most covered song of all time came in a dream, then that just says it all, doesn't it? So now I'm going to take like sort of sedatives, and I'm going to spend my whole time not thinking about anything, and look how unproductive I'll become. I'll get fatter. I wouldn't write anything, so I'll just be waiting for that inspiration. This could be the negative turning point in my life, I think.
I think I do. I think I need like a retreat where I can go away and like allow my brain to explore, because I think you have to
literally retreat into it. You have to back in. If you're walking straight ahead, won't work for you.
Yeah, exactly. I've got to retreat.
You've got to be sort of threatened and then go. Sorry, no. I'll let you make your serious point.
But it is weird. But it is, I think, with lockdown stuff. It's been intense because it's been all consuming. Children have all consumed this lockdown because they've literally been here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which you kind of you take for granted. School and nursery and grandparents and childcare and things like that, because what they do is break up your time and allow you time to sort of do other things in your life. When you don't have that, your children are there all the day. I'm not moaning about my children. Maybe a little tiny bit.
Are they big podcast listeners? Will they hear this?
Well, as I say, they won't listen to this until they're older, and then they'll go, "Oh, is that what you thought of us?" Really? Yeah, that's really sad. But no, I'm. It's been amazing because it has been genuinely to spend this much time together. It's been really nice. But I think it definitely has stopped any other time to consider anything else. And when the thing for me that what Anna was saying, the thing that she did, the sketch about being smug in lockdown and having people who are doing all those things and writing their novel and all that sort of stuff. And I think I just thought, how do people have got time for any of this stuff? Literally I can get through a day where I'm trying to entertain my kids and get through all the schoolwork and everything else. And I was envious because I was like, I want the time. I kind of want the time to do that. And it was only actually watching Anna's video, her sort of sketch about people being smug in the lockdown, and then a couple of other things that I saw that were like that, people taking the mickey out of it, that I was starting to relax and go, fuck it doesn't really matter, does it?
Oh no, exactly.
And actually it doesn't, it's not just because we have this time, it doesn't have to happen now,
and who's to say you have to do it now? You do it when you have the time and when you're ready for it. And there's definitely that's life, isn't it? You can spend your whole time thinking, should I be doing? And this is going back to the thing about, I think, inspiration. It comes when you least expect it. Really good ideas. And like for me as a songwriter, like when I used to write songs, I don't really do it so much now. But the things that just came in a moment, were really inspiring ones. If I sat down and go, right, today I'm going to write a song, I probably wouldn't, or it wouldn't be a very good song. So there's. And also it's like this. This is the thing that's come. We're putting out a bloody podcast, all right. What more do you want in this time
exactly? But it's exactly we are doing that, and we've for years we've not had the time to write material and stuff, and actually, but then at the same time, I wouldn't want to sit down at the sort of small amount of time we did have and go, right, let's write something, because you'd never get anything written, because you just sit there going, oh God,
it's too forced, isn't it?
It's too forced. And so I don't feel bad about that, only that we joke about the fact that we're still doing the same material, and people might see the same stuff. But we've always said with Mostly Comedy, it's our thing, so who cares?
Exactly,
we can do what we want. You can do what we want ultimately. But
most actually, people do enjoy it when it comes, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's for a good example is Paul Merton, who's someone who has says himself, I haven't written any material for about 20, 30 years,
Really?
because he just doesn't, he used to go and do gigs and stuff, and he felt the pressure of that. But obviously something like If I Can Use For You, he's just sort of riffing with the thing. But you don't necessarily have to. Like, for us, there's something that is Doggett and Ephgrave, that is whatever we do. So, these little moments, I mean, obviously it's better when your voice does work.
Well, this is it. My voice is definitely struggling.
That's the kids for you. But I have been a bit worried about. We might have to get another person in to voice you from now on. Someone with a really good RP, like really
someone who can say their
baritone voice. I could say their R's.
Yeah,
the amount of funny ideas I've had, they've got a fucking R in them.
I know.
Like, well, Glenn can't say that.
Yeah. Cut that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like working with fucking Jonathan Ross, for God's sake, who ironically has an R in his surname at the beginning.
Is a real problem, isn't it?
And but I guess embrace it, Glenn. Embrace your weak R's, but be very careful how you say that. Yeah, because it does. And again, if you turn on that moment, it's like, what am I listening to?
Yeah, what is
embrace your weak arse.
But again, if you've got to this point in the podcast, then good on you. And
you deserve a fucking
listening.
medal, I would say. Yeah. But thank you for listening. And if you've enjoyed it, there are plenty more interviews with all kinds of people: Rory Bremner, Bobby Davro, Phil Jupiters, Paul Daniels.
Love it. Kate Robbins.
Yes, that was a good one. That was like ages ago now.
Yeah, I know. And people like Martin Treneman, who is an actor, comedian, writer, hugely successful and really fun chat. That was a really good.
Absolutely,
good
and and a great one tonight as well. Yeah. And there'll be more to come soon. So listen out for that, and we hope to have your ears with your accompanying body with us again very soon.
Yes, indeed.
Bye for now.
Bye.